Hey everybody, this is Frankie Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report and the Scoop. Let me share this on my pages so that it gets out there. Talk about local news, national news, international news, taking any questions you guys may have and all that good stuff. I was going to address two because I had a liberal blogger, vblogger, write me, and I wanted just to touch on the questions that he had, because what is a huge conversation right now that's going on, obviously, is with the schools and guns and all that stuff. And my stance being pro-gun, because as I've said on many occasions, I carry a gun. I'm for the Second Amendment and all that good stuff. So I thought I'd elaborate on that. So once I share this, it'll give us time to get the audience built up. Although it's 9:36. I hope most of you guys are working. But if you're like me, you have the flexibility to listen and to stuff all day during work, which I do. I listen to essentially talk radio all day long. And today's piece was motivation. Kept listening to motivational stuff all day long. That Joe Rogan one I shared, I don't know if anybody saw it, but that was pretty good, because it tells people you're never going to achieve that success. You're never going to achieve what you want in life if you don't realize that you can. Just because others aren't doing it doesn't mean you won't do it. And another one they touched on, when people, it was a football player, I believe. I can't remember the guy's name. It was another video I listened to. And he was talking about how a class will come up and 24 people will say, I am going to get a 4.0. And he believes it. They all believe it. We're going to get 4.0s. Actually, they don't. Many of them just say that. And when the end of the school year comes around, you'll find that maybe one or two people get a 4.0. And his point being is that a lot of people say they're going to do it, but they don't follow through with it because they want to do other stuff, other initiatives came up, and they just don't follow through, which was pretty interesting. All right, so I got the laptop up. I can see your questions. If you guys have any questions, we'll start local news, because then a lot of people like to drop off on national. One thing I did want to cover, though, on this whole gun debate, with the school. Me personally, I think that you're at school, it's kind of like standing for the national anthem. A football player is working for an employee, the employer, be it the Patriots, the NFL, whatever your perspective is on it. If they basically want you to stand, you stand, okay? If you want to protest and fight for black rights, do it outside the stadium. Do it on your own time. Similar with this gun thing. Do it on your own time. You're at school. You're there to learn. Do it when you're after school. You can go there at 2:15 and stand in front of the school and protest all day long. And I think that's great. I think you should do it if you feel strong about something. But while at school, I think you need to go to your classes. And I'm glad he said, look, we're marking on maps that they want to sit there. Now, what I think is disturbing is what we're seeing with MSM, where they're pushing a narrative. And it was interesting. If you look, you're seeing basically the same couple of people, kids, pushing the same narrative about the guns. You don't see is any of the pro-gun advocates, kids, students that were involved in the school shooting, on interviews, unless you go to alternative media. And you even have operations like Snopes. Snopes came out and tried to discredit this kid, saying he's not a student, because this kid was a student, he's pro-gun. He had some concerns with the CIA coming there or Secret Service about, a month before doing drills. There were some different drills. You're not hearing about the drills on MSM. There were a few of them. And Snopes came on and said, the guy doesn't go to the school, and he called him out on it. He's like, here's my ID, here's all of my information. How can you sit there and say I don't go to this school? You got at CNN got busted yesterday giving scripted questions to their town hall, and you had certain students say, I'm not going to participate in this because I'm not going to follow through with scripted questions. And I think there's a comment up there. It looks like no, there isn't. Okay. And so I don't like how they're just pushing gun control. All right. Banning semi-automatics. There was a ban for like 10 years. When was it? Back in the 80s, 90s it ended. And they actually noticed that there was no impact whatsoever, so they got rid of it. I think it was like a 10-year ban on them. And so how's that going to help in the situation? I saw a movie. I was watching a news article, a show, and they said, you know what? If you look at gun control, rifles kill more than semi-automatics do. And they went through this whole chart. And the guy said, well, wait a second. You're just cherry-picking numbers. And guns actually killed 30,000 people. And this is Tucker Carlson. He came back and said, well, now you're cherry-picking because 2/3 of those were suicides. And you're not letting that information out. So both sides do it, and it's a shame. But you're not looking at the other stuff. SSRI impact. I think I did a rant the other day on it. Why isn't anyone talking about the mental issues that this kid was going through? And he had a horrible life. No excuse to go out and do what he did, but he had a horrible life. Was he on SSRIs? I believe I'm hearing he was. I can't confirm that. How about the perspective of the FBI dropping the ball? You're not hearing any media cover that. They were contacted a couple of times by this guy. He's got a pretty unique name, yet they couldn't find him. They can find everything in the world, but they can't find that. How about I think there was 20 students, and I have only seen this on alternative media. They've got interviews and documentation to prove it, because what happens with alternative media a lot of times is you need documentation to validate a lot of the stuff you're putting out there. Otherwise, MSM will come in and call you fake news. And you notice MSM doesn't always put out that supporting documentation, yet everyone says they're legitimate and their coverage is accurate, which is amazing, because most of the time I don't believe CNN, MSNBC, even Fox for that matter. I gotta be careful a lot of times when I put stuff out, because a lot of times it's inaccurate. This local blogger that came down on me yesterday, it was funny. This guy was pushing out the whole thing that the shooter was white supremacist. And he was putting it out after the police came out and said, no, we cannot validate that. And after the guy that said it backtracked and said, no, he wasn't. Yet the blogger still put it out there. 18 shootings, school shootings since the beginning of the year, or whatever I think it's the beginning of the year, is inaccurate. And basically, they're taking the total if someone put out a gun or did whatever, and they're basing it all on that number. I've yet to have someone sit down and tell me the 18 shootings that have occurred since the beginning of the year. And so all this stuff concerns me when I see it out there. 7 people watching, that tells you something. What, they're working? I don't know what it tells me. 11 now. I would hope most of you guys are working. Most of my videos get in the thousands, but it's usually after people get off work. So I guess it tells me most of you guys are working, I would hope. I would hope, and I think most of my base are working folks. So I'm not sure what Mickey meant with that one. All right, so I just wanted to touch on that, because there's too many times you get misinformation, and people know you won't research it, and you'll run with what you say. And even myself, research it. Don't just take what I'm saying. You should be smart enough to go out there and research it. Got a lot of issues out there today in the news. The opioid abuse impact on foster kids. I've been covering this a lot. Big pharma's push. They created this problem. The government came in. They try to limit the number of opioids out there that the doctors can give out. That's made it worse over the last couple of years, and they want to limit it even more. People started buying opioids off the street. The price went up once the new restrictions came in, specifically here in Florida. And then they started going towards H, and then the H prices have gone up, and now people are finding it cheaper to go for meth. And we got this whole problem out there, and the doctors continue just to prescribe the opioids. They just want to disguise your problem. They don't want to uncover what it really is. I personally, I don't like taking pain pills, and I don't know if it's a fear over getting some kind of addiction, or if it's just some family and friends I've known that have addictions. I took it half of one once. My back was out for a week, like 8-9 years ago. Took a half of one, and it felt great. But I was like, I'm not doing this again. And just over that fear. The VA, though. One thing I noticed, the VA came in, and I'm a veteran. I have a lot of issues with the VA. But they came in and said, we're going to stop basically pushing pills out like candy, pain pills out like candy, which is something they've been known for, something they've done a lot of. What's Tammy? I do not debate gun control with people who eat Tide Pods. You know, that's funny. There's a meme going out there, and it says, you know, these guys were, these teenagers are out there trying Tide Pods just a couple weeks ago, and now they want to tell us how much smarter they are on gun control. And a lot of people will sit there and say, you know, in terms of gun control, you had a lot of individuals that say just about every kid that comes out of high school and college after the liberal indoctrination, and there is a liberal indoctrination propaganda at the high school and college level, everyone's essentially almost a communist and wants gun control. You know what? In Venezuela, they took the guns. Venezuela had guns. They took the guns. Look what's happening there. It's a horrible situation if you follow what Maduro's doing in Venezuela. And the people can't revolt. China once said that the reason they don't come in, they would never consider attacking the United States or would have reservations with attacking the United States is the fact that everybody has a gun. And the gun was there to fight the tyranny that the government would impose upon their citizens. And there is a tyrannical government in my mind out there. Unfortunately, most of you guys don't realize it. If you just look at the extreme levels that the FBI, CIA, and different intelligence agencies have gone to spy on us, to get the person elected that they wanted in office, to try to change our government, that's a tyrannical government to me. But what do I know? All right, so the other thing, too, somebody said about the whole gun thing, driving kills a ton of people. Texting kills a ton of people. So should we start to take away your texting, your phones? See how teenagers feel about that. And I think there's a statistic out there that they may kill more kids than guns. But you know how that goes. Just look at Chicago. Excellent point there, Jerry. Appears to be a pain-driven suicides are creeping higher. Yeah, and they are. Suicides again, folks. Is it the gun or is it the SSRIs? I tell you what, I put out a thing the other day. SSRIstories.org, I believe it is, or .net, one of those two. The lady has been involved in all kinds of cases, high-profile cases of people that were on SSRIs and killed, like Andrea Yates, who drowned her kids. She was on SSRIs. The day before she killed her kids, they changed her level, and I think even changed her prescription. And the lady went on to talk about how the impact is when they change that prescription, how significant it is. But the day before she did that, the day after they did that, she drowned her kids. I don't think people realize how much of an impact they have on individuals. And I think that's what's coming out of Miami, too, is that guy's SSRIs were recently changed. And it does impact, especially a developing mind. And at 18, 17, 18, yes, you are still developing mentally. I don't know. Food for thought. City of Moat headquarters in the City Island. City of Sarasota is pissed, aren't they? They are pissed at this Moat Marine move. Over to Nathan Benderson Park. Nathan Benderson Park, folks. I tell you, that was supposed to be, what, a $2.5 million deal. We spent about, what, $30 million as a county on it. We still don't have our bleachers. They spent $5 million on the high-rise building that they're actually using as their offices. They were supposed to spend something like $10 million. It's just failing in every aspect. Now Moat wants to go out there. I don't know how many of our public dollars will go towards that. Corporate welfare. That's what they call it. There's actually a name for it. Corporate welfare. Let's see. Sarasota man, I saw this on the arrest reports. Today's arrest reports, if you go there, there's actually 2 arrests for child abuse. 2 individuals. I think they were both males. And then this one. And I didn't touch on it, but this guy is actually from Turkey. I don't know if you saw the TY for citizenship. Not sure of his religious affiliation, but being in Turkey, I'm assuming Muslim. Most of the majority are Muslim. And you're having a major issue out there with people in the Middle East, refugees and stuff, that to them, culturally, to many of them, not all of them, many of them, they find it acceptable to go out and do child abuse like that, which is a shame. And if you read more, you're not going to see that in an MSM. You got to dig for the stories, and a lot of them, like Sweden, Switzerland, they try to hide and bury these stories. Sheriff wants to, what do you guys think about that? Sheriff wants to bring deputies out of retirement to help with school safety. I think this is actually an interview, if I recall, of, it wasn't a deputy. I believe it was a guy that worked with the federal prison system, and he was a vet. He said he's got nothing to do. He wouldn't mind coming out and doing that part-time. What say you guys? Might not be a bad idea. You got people that can work part-time, can go there, do the background checks, do all that stuff. And if they're willing to volunteer their time, but I think actually in this case, they're willing to pay them. Orioles impact, this is great. Orioles is a unique situation in that they're one of the only spring training operations out there that actually have a positive impact economically on communities, and most of them don't. Orioles were concerned with how the deal was being put together with the Braves because they said it was similar to other deals which tend to fail and don't produce the economic benefits that many tout will come from it. You got the threats of local schools; those continue. You had one up in Manatee. You've had a few here. Just don't know what these kids are thinking. I mean, why would we had one down in Northport 1 week prior to the school mass killing, and just what are these kids thinking? It amazes me. Some Northport stuff. We got what else we got here? Rooney out. This is funny, guys. And let me switch to this other screen. Rooney out. I was just being facetious when I said I would run. I'm not a politician. I would suck at it because I'm not affiliated with any party, and you got to be a Republican or Democrat if you're going to win any of these elections, and because the money involved. And B, I wouldn't have a chance to win. I think I was being more facetious and thinking it'd be funny just to run. You know what, though? To run on these things, you need something like, for Congress, you need something like 5,000 signatures for that district. Or you could pay the money, and the money's something like, I don't know, $4 or $5 grand. It's something like 1%. I'm not sure if it's 1%. It's a percentage of what you make as a congressman. And the average is something like $172,000 a year. And you got to pay that in fees. Otherwise, you got to try to get over 4,000 signatures of registered voters. And Stubbe is actually, I believe he's up in Sarasota, so I don't know how he says he will run. Julio Gonzalez actually lives in here in Venice. His daughters go to Venice High. He has a practice here, an ortho practice. And it consists mainly of from Sarasota. I think it's down to end of Charlotte, the area there. But I don't know. I wonder why Rooney's leaving. That's a question. All right, and let's get back to that screen. What do we have here? Canine flu update. They say it's just basically disappearing from the area. They're not seeing a lot of it. What else we got here? Just because high school students survived the tragedy doesn't make them instant experts on complex policy issues, which we were discussing. And again, bravo to these kids for getting out there and voicing their concerns, but I don't think they realize how much the left-leaning media is using them and molding their train of thought with some propaganda that isn't always accurate. Do I believe there probably needs to be better systems in place? Yeah. Some of the security at these schools isn't that great. I think there's, in regards to background checks, in regards to a lot of the laws out there, I think they're not being adhered to. I don't think they're being followed strictly. In the schools, I don't know. See, I don't have a problem with arming teachers as long as they're certified, as long as there's stuff in place. I didn't get one story I read where teachers are allowed to conceal carry, but the gun's got to be kept in the car. And it's like, well, if a mass shooter comes in, why is the gun kept in the car? So stuff like that I don't get. All right, what else we got? Sarasota Memorial Board, you guys don't care about that. Beach University returns Siesta. How about Siesta Beach? No longer number 2. Now, that wasn't Mr. Beach, though. That was the USA report. Clearwater took top. I asked, and I think on the Siesta Key Beach one, I said, well, is this because the reality series so much attention to the lack of parking. It could be a variety of issues out there, why it's fallen. But it's only fallen to number 2, so that's not a huge drop at all. Steve Cannese pushing the whole referendum. There was actually a text that I was opening up, and I don't think I ever opened it before I started the show. And it's in regards to March 20th when you guys will be able to, you guys, me too, will be able to vote on the referendum for the schools. And I believe it's $1 million, and I don't see it on here anymore. It's right now, a lot of people are concerned about it. They don't want, several individuals don't want it. It's normally a fee that goes right through without any challenges, and some people are challenging it now. So I don't see it. I don't see it on here. But he's saying that it helps in arts and other factors. Basically, I don't want to go into that area. I'll stay away from that. What do we got here? Tammy, you said it right. The left-wing media using these kids. Kids today don't understand how politics work. No, they don't. Actually, most adults don't understand how politics work, which is simply amazing. Let's see. Oh, that pink cell phone case. I got to tell you, that did not look like a gun, and I thought that was blown out of proportion. I don't know what they said on the scoop, because I don't really read your guys' feed, sorry. I get attacked too much, so I decided not to read them anymore. Unless someone brings one to my attention, but usually I try not to read them. Let's see, Habitat for Humanity, Man Dog, Waste and Abuse, Tax Dollars. I think that was on Venice, if any of you guys are here in Venice, that's on that library. It's amazing. We bought that property for $1 million, just under $1 million. You can check the videos, you can check the emails. They had no plans for that building. It was just a good deal because we could get a good rate. The biggest proposal was putting parking spaces there. And then the mold issue came up at the library, so they said, well, hey, we have this. We'll rent it to this county. I believe it was for like $1. Now they're trying to figure out what to do with it, and Hollick's idea is to put the museum in there. And I'm like, wait a second, $1 million we paid for this building, and now we're putting a museum in there? I talked to a guy for a while, Sean Cullen, and he's at a lot of these meetings. He's on this page and stuff. I met him out at the Jetty one day, and we just started talking. And he said, why not sell it? Get some of that money back. You have no money. You have all these expenditures. Why not just sell it? Why are you going to take this precious property and put in this museum? Food for thought. All right, what else we got here? A lot of it's the same old crap out there. I didn't even know. It's funny where you got Sheriff Nice says, I'm not running for that seat. I didn't even know he was considering it, or even a possible candidate or someone to be considered for it, because I don't view him from that perspective. But I thought it was interesting that he came in and said that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, what do we got? Any more questions? George Soros has been putting money into the student gun. Not too many people know that. And this guy is loaded. And his son, too. His son just dumped off a bunch of money into it. Yeah, so Daddy's little boy, that's going to continue once George is gone. All right, I'm going to Drudge. Because what people don't realize is Drudge, a lot of people say, oh, he's right-leaning. He's not. He actually pulls right and left stuff and puts it on there. His views are right-leaning, but I see stuff that just attacks every party out there. I think it's better than going directly to a Fox or a CNN. And I watched, he's got up here, President Hears Their Pain. I watched that yesterday. I don't know if any of you guys did. It was interesting. Some of it was a tear. I was crying at one point because this poor kid, he had a little goatee. He was sitting 2 seats away from the Columbine father, and it was sad. He lost his best friend. And I believe his best friend saved his brother, but too much emotion, I think, is getting caught into this. It's good to hear their perspective and everybody else's perspective. But a lot of times when you have meetings like that, or the town hall that you see here with Rubio, they turn into arenas where people with opposing views can come in and get loud, boisterous. And nothing constructive comes from it. I think Trump's was pretty constructive. I don't think this CNN was. Besides the scripted questions, the what you see is I went to Buchanan. Buchanan came here, and it was filled up with leftist-leaning organizations. I think a lot of people were bussed in there. They were very loud. He couldn't speak. Nothing constructive came from this town hall, except for them to get out there and yell and scream. And there was so much vitriol, and the media was running and picking it all up. And so the media loves that. They love it. And they're playing it. So people are thinking, oh, man, Buchanan, everybody hates them. They all want this. They want X. They want Y. Although I'm not a fan of Buchanan, I could understand why people like him and Rubio don't want to do these town halls, because they're just platforms for individuals to get out there and spill out a lot of propaganda, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of hatred, vitriol, and rarely does constructive stuff come from it, especially when CNN is helping script questions, which is amazing. I think you get more out of doing stuff like Buchanan will do. Buchanan will send out these emails and say, okay, here's an issue. Here are some of the options. What do you guys think? And elaborate on it. Let me know if you want more, something different, something new. When you could get those emails in and encourage people to write you in, because in this stuff, I don't know if you guys have ever gone. I don't know if anyone can say on there. I've been to them. They're just ridiculous, and nothing constructive comes from them. And I probably will never go to another town hall because that's how much of a waste of time it was to me. U.S. Embassy in Montenegro was attacked. They actually warned people ahead of time about that yesterday, not to go, and then it was attacked by, I think someone threw a grenade into it. NRA spokeswoman Dana Lynch, she was booed at the CNN town hall, basically saying that she's a murderer because she's a spokesperson for the NRA. And again, I can almost guarantee you, man, this is because I've been out in this media, I've seen it. I can almost guarantee you that audience was stacked with people CNN wanted to push their narrative out there. Call me crazy, but that's what I think. Israel and Iran are on a collision course in Syria. It is getting bad over there, you guys. Iran's been fighting these proxy wars. Essentially, Syria was a proxy war. Iran and Russia against Israel and United States, and we don't want to get into the U.S. support and Israel support of ISIS and other extreme elements there. But Iran is fighting Saudi Arabia in Yemen, and in a proxy war, and things are heating up now. This time between Iran and Israel. So, that's another hotspot, and I did a rant the other day about the hotspot of Pakistan, India, China, because a country that India and China are fighting over, India sending troops up there, Pakistan's shooting several police, and India's bombing, and Pakistan's bombing India on the border cities, and things are really heating up in that area of Asia too, which nobody's paying too much attention to. China just funneled money and more military equipment into Pakistan, as the United States is with India. So, here we go. Call for more anti-anxiety drugs. That's just what we need. More anti-anxiety drugs. Look at that. Let's see, what else we got? Moderator, Tapper. Oh, God. And Tapper was the moderator. I didn't even watch it. Oh, my God. CNN. No, Jake Tapper, he couldn't have been on there. Sits back as students equate Rubio to the school shooter. Flashback, network. Long history of allowing town hall plants. Interesting. Sheriff Clark, gun control push has Soros' fingerprints all over it. That's true. Cruz, always in trouble, never expelled. Why didn't the school system do more? And why, again, guys, why aren't people asking this? I think the school expelled him. Was there more they could have done? He obviously easily walked in there. Local police, what have they done? That sheriff is quick to say, oh, it's the gun, because he's trying to deflect away from how they screwed up. The FBI, it's the gun. They're trying to deflect from how they've screwed up. And the guy shouldn't have had those guns. I think he legally got it, but if you go in to buy a gun, they ask you on the questionnaire if you're on any drugs, if you're got mental issues, blah, blah, blah. They ask you several questions. That's why I said the system is in place. The system just doesn't work. Netanyahu confidence turns against him in dramatic states. Evidence still, they're looking at getting rid of that guy, the globalist. What do we got? Florida City shows how tax cuts may buoy Republicans. How about Pelosi guy? Pelosi is getting her butt handed to her over that crumbs over the taxes, but she's not getting up. She's sticking to it. But a lot of people are starting to see their paychecks go up this week, and a lot of people are saying, based upon how the polls swing, and I don't trust these polls anymore, but that the Democrats who thought they were going to steamroll over the Republicans may not steamroll over them. Especially in the Senate, possibly in the Congress. You never know. With people like Rooney. Rooney's a Republican. He's leaving. A lot of Republicans are taking off. What else we got? LA cracks down on out-of-control Hollywood party houses. I never read that kind of stuff. What else we got here? Twitter users lose followers. Mass purge of bots. The Russian bots. They did this to a lot of conservative sites, oddly enough. Where their Twitter followers have been falling off. YouTube does this a lot too. Facebook, they all do it. They do the blind, oh God, what's it called? Where Project Veritas came out. Blind, it's like a blind blockage. Essentially what's happening is you're putting your post there, you think people are seeing it, but they're not. They're blocking it. Blindly, they're suppressing your communications on Twitter. And I wouldn't doubt that Facebook's doing it either. Germany to build under pressure over fake news. You know what? They call it fake news. If you're not following a narrative that MSN wants you to put out, that politicians want you to put out, you're fake news. That's it. Fake news. We've seen it here locally. I'll put out a video where a politician will say something. I'll even put out emails and he won't like the fact that it's out there. Someone will ask him about it. Oh, the scoop. That guy's fake news. Okay, he's fake news. You say that. Can you show us how it's fake news? No, he's just fake news. Okay, all right. And you got to believe him because, well, he's the mayor. Yeah. What else we got? 1 in 5 Americans have more credit card debt than savings. Venezuela lost 24 pounds on average. Those guys are eating dogs. They're starving. You had Colombia and, God, what's the other country that backs them? Is it Guatemala? Move forces to the border because I believe in Colombia there's a Devil's Bridge that a bunch of people are refugees are leaving Venezuela in search of food. And something I never knew. I've been talking to someone that's from Venezuela, and she told me that Maduro is actually Colombian and not Venezuelan. He's their president. And also that the generals are primarily Cubans, which was real interesting. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but that's what she says, and that's what's all over the press down there. Okay, what else we got? Trudeau ridiculed by Indians for fake, annoying traditional outfits. Lots of stuff out there. Lots of news. Okay, so that's basically it. We got the Italian festival. Who's going to the Italian festival today? If you guys haven't heard of it, I actually met a lady that never heard of it, and it starts today. It runs through Sunday. It's in Venice at the airport on the island. All kinds of rides, all kinds of greasy carnival food, games, tons of people, bands, music. Usually Bandana plays there on a Sunday. Who knows, maybe Puddlefish will be there, or Kettlefish. The time that most people like to go is on Saturday and Sunday when they do you buy a pass. It used to be $15. I don't know how much it is anymore. It might be $25 for all I know. And you get to go on all the rides instead of paying. So it's unlimited ride access. I believe on Sunday and I'm going off memory from the previous years, it's 12 to 7. On Saturday, I'm thinking it's 12 to 5, and I could be wrong. There is a flyer on my website where you can look at it. I'll put out a video I produced. I don't know if produced. I shot it on GoPro. When was that? When did I put it out? Like a couple years ago, and I basically rode my bike through there. and it's essentially the same all the time. The only thing they didn't have last year that my daughter brought to my attention, which I didn't even realize, is a Ferris wheel. That's a huge event. You get a ton of people that go to it. I can't remember if you got to pay for parking. I know the event's free to get into, but I believe you got to pay something like $3 to park or $5. I can't completely remember that. And I don't think there's any other any other stuff going on this weekend. But it's only Thursday, and we'll share anything that comes out. And I think that's it. I got to go back to work, doing something that puts food on the table. So everybody have a great day. Share the video, share all this stuff, and so that I can try to beat those algorithms. Actually, sharing in my group has helped me to completely annihilate the algorithms. I don't know how people like WWSB, Harold, and that are doing it, because I noticed a significant drop, and I'm sure they did too. But once I started sharing in that group, I noticed like a 60% uptick. But who knows? Maybe I'll just stop doing all of it. Stop the scoop. It doesn't pay. I'm not making anything. I do get a lot of hate mail from it, which is that's a plus, right? All right, everybody. Talk to you later.